Ginawa ko pa, nung dinag-drop ko to, kinaya ko pa yung nakasulat, no? Okay, so hindi halata, no? Parang nagbago. So I just changed only one, updated this, drag, and I even use the same name. Then I just went through each one. Okay? Then after going to each one, just update it. Where's that? The data bar. This one. Okay? Okay? Even if I maintain the name, ito yung critical thing you have to do. Even if I maintain the name, okay, as data bar, I still need to go through that process of choosing the data source. Okay? So, palitan lang. Palitan nyo to with this one, change the data source for its control, and you're now in ADO mode. Now, let's compare. If you're now in ADO mode, let's see what happens. So, obviously, this guy doesn't compile, so there's no point of running it. So let me now open the ADO version. Okay. So it will go through the same upgrade process. ADO DB na siya. Okay? And I'm so confident that ADO would work. What will I do next? I'll press F5. Can you see that? This is .NET. You know why it's do you know why it's .NET? Who can prove that this is .NET? Just by looking at it. Di ba? Ito, yan. Okay, so walang daya yan. .NET code yan. So if well, it's actually converted to VB.NET, but it's still using what we call COM interop. It's still using the ADO COM components. It's not using the ADO.NET. It's still using ADO, but the thing there is, okay, notice that the code has been converted. It's basically clean. Okay? Meron siyang code ginawa behind it. Okay? Just to make it work. Okay? So, in the long run, probably you need to change this code. Okay? So that you use pure .NET. But in this case, this works. Right? If you're doing ADO, done. Questions? So, pwede na kayo mag-schedule ng vacation leave nyo. May summer na vacation naman. Tama, summer vacation. Ay, wala na. Tapos na pala yung summer, may bagyo na yun. Okay? Questions. Okay? So, first tip. If your application is, your data access is written ADO, don't have a lot of problems. Okay? You could use ADO from .NET. Okay? So if your objective is simply to make it run and work in .NET, okay, this could be your first cut. Okay? Convert, still use ADO, but you're now in that .NET world. Okay? Questions? So if you're not using ADO, what do? Convert your DAO code or RDO code to ADO first. Okay? Or, you throw away the application and build it in .NET from scratch. Okay? So, it depends on your objectives. Okay na? Sisiu? Chicken. Okay, let's go. So, DAO and RDO only code gets updated and not the data controls. Okay, ADO, everything except for data source classes. Okay. So, best option is to use ADO in your VB6 code. Or change your VB6 code to use ADO, which is very, very easy. Okay, especially if you're using data controls, you just change the control with the actual ADODB control and go to each control and change the update the data source. That's it. Okay. Now, let's say you really want to use ADO.NET. Okay, so in the whole migration process, theoretically, the easiest thing to convert would be your data access. Okay, so at least you could sleep well when if your responsibility is data access. Now, let's say you're a bit courageous enough, like I want to use ADO.NET directly. For what reason, you may ask? If you use COM, okay, .NET is, when it calls COM, it creates a wrapper around COM component. So it means there's a performance penalty. Okay? For certain situations, this is negligible simply because you're accessing a slower component, which is your database, right? So this could be okay. But you may want to develop in ADO.NET because of certain features. Now, during the early days of conversion, I actually found the CD that was given out by Microsoft on how to convert into VB.NET 2000. Our only option with ADO.NET was to use similar things that are found in existing ADO. Record set, plus the new and improved, or sorry, the new concept called a data set. Okay? But at this point in time, we have so many technologies under the umbrella of ADO.NET. So we're going to look into some of them later on. Okay? But for us who are been used to developing VB6 applications, using only the famous or infamous record set, how do we upgrade to a similar technology in ADO.NET? Okay. So in ADO.NET, we have something like a record set called a data reader. But the data reader only does a subset of what a record set does. Okay? Forward, read only, server-side, cursor. Okay? Remember, in your record set, pwede siya server-side, client-side, static, dynamic, ano pa? Static, dynamic, key set, right? Wala. Okay? So you could also open a dynamic record set and edit the rows as you go along. Okay? So when they developed ADO.NET, they realized that's the bad way of doing things. Because if you have a dynamic record set, what happens? You hold the resources on the server, especially on the SQL server. Probably if you're using MS Access single user, that's not a problem. But right now we're all using SQL Server, 5,000 users, 500 users, etc. Okay. So if you were like me before, when you're creating an MS Access using an MS Access MDB, using VB6 as a front end, where 100 users are connected to the same single MDB file, probably you are very used to using the forward static read-only record set. Okay, then we also have the data set. So the data set is an in-memory representation of your data. Okay, so the idea here is that you could capture information from your database, a limited amount of your database, and store it in memory and process that. After processing that, as a batch, push that updates back to the server. Okay, that becomes more efficient, right? Because you don't pressure the server, especially, okay, update, okay, next record. So at that time na nakabitin, di ba, kumakain siya ng resources. Okay. Where does that fit? Okay, so we're now in .NET Framework 4. So before it's just .NET Framework 1, so it's very obvious, no? But at this point, .NET Framework 4, those things that I discussed are this small box here. Before, this is the only thing that you use in data access. Okay, so the thing ADO.NET, okay, it's in .NET, so it's in .NET, so you could use it practically anywhere in your stuff. Okay. It has XML features, etc. I actually used an old slide, kaya Visual Studio.NET pa rin nakasulat nito. Okay, so XML was the in thing and it was a very good investment by Microsoft. They embraced XML until now. XML is still in thing. Okay, so the internal representation of the data set, etc., can also be serialized system. Now, managed provider. Okay, so if you dealt with different database, even in your VB6, you realize that there's such thing what we call a connection string, where we place information about a specific database technology that we want to connect to. The most popular technology was OLADB, right? You know, ever heard of OLADB? Hindi naman Spanish yun. Yung ano, okay. So OLADB, yung ano, di ba? So we could connect to the Oracle, etc., etc. Okay, so we could use our code. So there's this concept also, similar concept in ADO that we call that as managed provider. Sadly, of course, when this came out, what was rolled out to the people was, to the developers was, okay, OLADB was good, but it's too generic. It's too thick a layer for fast data access. So the best way to go about this is come up with different providers. You have a SQL provider, Oracle provider. And the sad thing about that was Microsoft created different distinct classes. Okay, what they promoted then was distinct classes for the different technologies, like you have SQL connection, like SQL client namespace. Oracle, you have the same thing. If you have DB2, you have the same thing. Although if you want to go OLAD, you also have those providers. So your code becomes very specific to a certain technology. Okay. Just let me digress a bit. Have you heard of Enterprise Library? Have you heard of Enterprise Library? No. So Enterprise Library was developed before by Pascal of Avada, then it was taken over by Microsoft. And it's still available right now. It's one of the popular class libraries in the world. If you're doing Microsoft technology, especially .NET, it provides you classes on top of .NET. So it has facility, it has extra classes so that you could connect to different providers transparent. So the design of these providers is good. Actually, it has interfaces. So Enterprise Library just promotes the use of those interfaces so that when you build your code, it doesn't really get tied to the different database technology. But for now, we'll just focus on the SQL. Okay. Now, so the data access can be divided. Data access in .NET can be divided into two categories: connected and disconnected. Okay. And we're just focusing on ADO.NET. Once we go to Enterprise Library, Entity Framework, it's kind of more disconnected. So when you say connected, this is similar to what you've been doing in VB6, record set. Okay, you connect to the database, here are the records, you do and do something about it as you go along. Okay, so here, very similar to VB6 or ADO, we have a concept of connection. We have a connection object where you associate the connection string. That means you're establishing a connection to the database. We also have a command class. That's where you place your SQL command, select whatever. And the data reader. The data reader is similar to, again, to your record set. You associate the command to the data reader so that this command will tell the data reader what data you feed. Okay? Again, data reader is just fast forward, read only, sequential recursion. Okay? Now, data adapter, okay, is a class that is responsible for getting data similar to data reader, but it populates. Notice when you do a data reader, per row yung basa mo, di ba? Data adapter will, based on the command, will retrieve all the data, but populate the in-memory database, what we call data set. Okay? So it could populate data tables or a memory representation of what it got. Okay? So this is the bridge from the connected layer to the disconnected layer. So a data set is an in-memory representation database. So unlike the connected layer, there is only one data set in the .NET world. This is not specific to any database technology. just a memory